I had a thought this morning that I want to share with you about mentorship. I am able to do a lot of what I do because I had great mentors, but there are correct ways and incorrect ways to mentor people, in my opinion. I was mentored as a boy preacher by Bishop F.D. Washington, one of the great Pentecostal preachers of his time. Then Reverend William Jones became my pastor after Bishop Washington died, who was unquestionably in the top 5 black church ministers, theologians. Reverend Jesse Jackson, who I started my activism under his leadership, he and Reverend Jones. And I learned politics directly as a youth director from Shirley Chisholm. So even though I didn't finish college, I had the most unique education in the world from being exposed to giants. But the one thing I learned is as I grew older and people started coming younger than me and wanted me to teach and mentor them, the magic of the mentors I had is they did not want me to be their clone. They wanted me to learn things from them and use my own gifts and talents in my own unique way and let me do things on my own, because they knew that if I flopped in some things, it would teach me for the other things. They'll come and help me once I was down, but they were not going to have me avoid being down. And they were not going to impose themselves on me. Why am I saying that? Because too many mentors want clones. And too many mentees want their mentors to put them on a pedestal. Oh, so-and-so didn't do this for me. Oh, so-and-so didn't open doors for me. If they got to open doors for you, it may mean that they knew you weren't ready to go through those doors. Their job is to prepare you. Your job is to develop your own skills, your own unique ways. And I don't care if it's my daughters, who both have come into their own, or anyone else. I'm not a talent agent. I did not form National Action Network to give people their step up. I formed it to fight for justice for everybody. If talented people get in, it's my job to invest and give them a platform. It's their job to get on the platform and perform and show their ability. Sitting with me today in the office as I talk about it is one of my mentees, Reverend Stephen Marshall. Now, Stephen, you just came around us when you were how old?
11 years old.
11 years old. You just turned 40 and now you're called to the ministry?
Yes, sir.
And what do you do in National Action Network?
I formulate policies, lead in various regions, but most importantly, I senior advisor to you on all things from social justice strategies, politics, intergovernmental affairs, you name it, community organizing, all of that stuff.
And I could go through scores of others. My daughter started Huddle. They got Huddles now, which is for young people to meet once a week all over the country. I just saw the video from the Las Vegas National Action Network chapter. Now, when you decided to preach, did I ever tell you to become a preacher?
Not one time.
Who called you to preach?
The Lord.
All right. And did I say go to this school or that school?
No, sir.
Did I open this door, that door? Did I tell you be ready when the doors open?
Always be ready and prepared.
And that's what I'm saying. Get you some young people than you that you can help along the way. But don't be their talent agent. Their talent must speak for themselves. And anybody that grumbles with you about so-and-so didn't do something for them, maybe it's because they didn't feel you were ready, or that they felt that they did it, you wouldn't do it on your own. But we all don't live forever. I want the next generation to speak of me, of National Action Network, and others, the way I speak of Reverend Jones and Bishop Washington and Shirley Chisholm and Reverend Jackson. But I just don't want young people to feel that somebody ought to give them the reins of leadership or give them the reins of business or whatever it is you're in. You need to learn from their journey, get the pearls of wisdom from them, but don't have them do for you, because then it means you can't do it for yourself. This organization has been on the front line. People ask me, why do families call us? Because we never leave them.
justice. No justice. What do we want? What do we want? What do we want? When do we want it? When do we want it? When do we want it?
Okay, good evening, everybody. Good evening. All right, welcome to our legal night for the month of April. Thank you all for bearing with us as we have been in transition here at the National Action Network. Welcome to the Harlem Commonwealth Building, our temporary House of Justice location where we have been operating for the past for the last 2 months that we have been here. We moved out at the end of January into this nice, beautiful office. I hope that you have had the opportunity to just see it. And downstairs, this is a beautiful building. They have welcomed us, and so we want to say thank you to the Harlem Commonwealth Council for allowing us this space, and we are so glad to bring back our legal night. Thank you to all of us that have joined us in person and all of those that are online. Thank you for watching, for tuning in for tonight. Today we have, as you see, so many wonderful attorneys. Can we give them all a very big, great hand? They have come from across the city to be with us tonight. Across the city and the state to be with us tonight. And all of these attorneys are here free will. They are not paid, they do not work for NAN, but because they honor the life of a great man that we have named this legal night after, our late great attorney Michael Hardy. Can we give a hand to his memory and life? We founded Legal Night 15 years ago, am I right? 16. It's 16 now. All right, praise God. 16 years ago, Legal Night has been in existence, and it has been a place where people can come to the House of Justice to receive legal help, legal advice, legal aid on whatever they are in need of. And for the last several years, they have done just that. And these are some of the great attorneys that have worked with them at our last legal night. At one of the last legal nights, I remember Attorney Stecklow had a very good report of a young man that had came with his mother, who was in an incident, in a situation that he had no business being in. And they were trying to just throw the book at him and throw everything on top of him. But Attorney Stecklow got that off of him, reduced charges where the young man had to do no time. And because sometimes they do try to take advantage of you, and they try to take advantage of us, but these great attorneys have worked with them. There are so many different cases. Attorney Russell, Royce Russell, who is a great guy, who has always been a great guy, and we call him several times throughout the day, and we have had no complaints and no bad reports on any of our attorneys, so give them one more big great hand. And so to lead us into that, and of course, we want to always thank our president and founder, Reverend Sharpton, who has allowed this opportunity as we are celebrating 35 years this year of NAN being in existence, and that's a great thing. And so we are so glad about that as we have just come out of our national convention, and we will be moving into our new building just around the corner in the next couple of weeks, and there will be more information on that. But to further our program, we will hear from our program lead for this evening, Attorney Joe Malcolm. Let's give him a big hand.
Thank you, Kristen, and thank you, everybody, for attending. We are in the midst and in between buildings, certainly, and temporary headquarters, temporary housing, but that'll all change, and they will be up and running very shortly, and back to normal, back to the way things have been. Okay, so I'm assuming everybody's been here before?
Yeah, today.
Yeah. How many people have been here for the first time? Very good. I'm always happy to see new people. Welcome, and we hope you'll enjoy the program. And if you do, please, you'll come back again, and we'll explain to you how things work, how things develop. Essentially, Legal Night is done in 3 parts. we have the first part where we're going to be having a featured speaker, a featured topic, which will be immigration rights, and my colleague Wally Steckler will introduce the speakers for that. And after that, we have a time when each individual can come up and ask questions. Whatever's on your mind. You may have an issue involving yourself, a friend, a family member. It may be something you've read about in the paper or seen on TV. You may have some questions. You can ask to the panel, you can ask it to an individual attorney, and each individual attorney is here on a voluntary basis. We're not employees of the National Action Network. We do it because it's the right thing to do. We want to give pro bono, we want to give back to the community, because there's a lot of misinformation out there. We'd like to level the playing fields, and that's really what we're here for, okay? And then we try to leave some time. We'll try to leave maybe 15, 20 minutes at the end for you, if you want to speak to an attorney in person. You might not have enough time to do a full-blown consultation, but at least you may have a question or two that you don't want to ask in front of everyone, and that's why we're here. To do that, then certainly you can always speak with one of us afterwards on the phone, tomorrow, the next day, whatever, later on down the line, and see if an attorney can help you. And as we said, that's really what we're here for. Okay, Legal Night can never be functioned without the staff of the National Action Network. It's a great staff. I've known them now for about 20 some odd years. And I'm going to tell you that people over here, they really have your back. They will do the right thing for you. This is a great civil rights organization, probably one of the best in the country. And it's really due to the staff and all the time that they put in 7 days a week. And they're always over here to help. And I want to thank so many people. And I'm sure I'm going to forget a few. But one person I want to thank, and she's sitting over there, Ashley Sharpton. Thank you so much, Ashley, for everything that you do. Lisa Goldie Harps, she's out here someplace. We thank her for that. Brenda Doc, Winston Gilchrist is always here for videoing. I don't see him here tonight, but I know he does so much work.
Celebrating his birthday.
Celebrating his birthday. All right, great. Happy birthday, Winston. Okay, that's great. And Brenda Ricketts, Christina, she left a little early today. Arthur Robinson, I saw him before in the hall. Dominique Sharpton. J.T. Trollinger, Sister Diane Word, I saw her here before. Chris Matthews, of course, and someone that many of us know from years back. If you've been around here, you know Maxine Lewis. Some of us may remember her. Did so much good work in Legal Night and so much good work with National Action Network. She passed away maybe 10 some odd years ago, but she really was a vital part of NAN and of Legal Night, and we thank her for that. Years we've had attorneys that have gone on to be judges on the bench. Judge Senria Edwards in Brooklyn. We thank her for all of her work. Judge J. Mashal Sweeting in New York. Thank her for all her good work. Judge Kim Parker in New York County, and also Judge Tanya Kennedy in the Appellate Division. Judge Milton Tingling has been over here to speak about the juries and things of that nature. Former judge and the jury clerk and clerk of the Supreme Court. Got a great track record, great resume, and he's here from time to time as well. Okay, the attorneys, as I said, we're here to help. We have Rob Bellinson is here tonight. Gary Certain is not here, but takes part in the programs from time to time. We have a new attorney, just admitted not that long ago, and we wish him the best of luck. Maurice Daniel, Jeff Emden, Ken Gilbert, Carmen Giordano, Pete Gleason, Michael Royce. Royce Russell's here tonight.
Yeah, Royce.
Thank Royce. Myself, Joel Schmelkin, Eric Seifert. Will be here probably on Zoom. He's out in Berkeley, California. Wiley Stecklow, excellent attorney, friend, colleague, known for many years. And then, of course, the one person that we have to mention is who we named Legal Night after, Michael Hardy. Probably one of the most decorated and great civil rights attorneys. Really, it was because of him that this program started. And I always say this, and I mean it, and I'm sure everybody agrees, that we as attorneys are all better lawyers because of the time that we knew and the time that we worked with him and what we've all learned from him. He was one of a kind, and he certainly deserves praise from all of us, and always will get praise. So, Michael, thank you. Okay, what I'd like to do now is introduce you, I said, my friend, colleague, Wiley Stecklow, who will introduce the program tonight, who will be speaking on immigration issues, tell you a little about that, and after that, we'll turn over the program to our immigration attorneys for that particular field. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Joel. Good evening.
Good evening.
A little much. Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you. Thank you. I also want to recognize another attorney who's here, who is a new attorney to the Civil Rights Night here, the Legal Right, and that's my colleague Kawan Lovelace to the right. He's somebody I've gotten to know pretty well over the last few months, and I'm really better off for knowing him, and I'm happy that he's able to join us, and hopefully be joining us on a monthly basis here at the House of Justice, whether it's here or in our new space that we'll be in a few months. When we decided to come tonight and we wanted to figure out what type of program to focus on tonight, we talked about what's going on in the world, what's going on in our world, our community, the community of Harlem. And it's going on not just here, but around in other communities. And that's what's going on with immigration rights. And we see officers, ICE officers, right, coming with masks on. And we've seen video and images and photos of them taking people from their homes, from the street, from courthouses where they're going to, go follow through on their rights, on their process, on the procedure to go through that. We're supposed to tell them this is what you're supposed to do. And then when they're doing what they're supposed to do, we're still seeing these ICE officers taking them, grabbing them, ripping families apart. Not what my America is supposed to stand for. Not what our community is supposed to stand for. And so I thought it was really important that we talk a little bit about immigration rights and what to do as a community when we're impacted by that. When we see ICE coming into our community, how can we respond? What are we allowed to do? What are we not allowed to do? And things like that I think are really helpful so that we're going to feel less helpless when these things happen. And so I reached out to a few different colleagues, and I'm very, very lucky that we were able to get two to come tonight and speak to you in person. So one is slightly delayed, and he had to cut short. He had a 6 o'clock meeting in Westchester, and he chose to do that one by Zoom, so as soon as it was over, he could zip down here to Harlem. And so he's now parking. He'll be here in a minute. But I'm going to first introduce the first speaker. I'll also introduce the second speaker, so when he shows up, he can just hop on up here. So our first speaker is going to be Wafa Junaid. So we are so very lucky to have Wafa here today. She's a staff attorney at the New York Civil Liberties Union, right? And that's what we call NYCLU, which is a part of the ACLU. It's one of the greatest legal organizations our country has, and it's more and more important every day when it feels like there's an administration eroding people's rights. It's the ACLU and NYCLU that stands up for people's rights. And so Wafa has worked there. Prior to working there, she was a Skadden Fellow at the ACLU's Immigration Rights Project, where she worked on presumption challenges. She was challenging state laws and things that criminalized federal immigration and the violations, and she litigated challenges to prolonged detention. She's worked on rights and efforts to oppose the efforts of the Trump administration to undermine birthright citizenship and to oppose the transfer of non-citizens from U.S. detention facilities in Guantanamo Bay without access to law counsel. While in law school, she worked on wrongful conviction cases at the MacArthur Justice Center, another really great organization that has, I think, 4 or 5 offices around the country to stand up for individuals, stand up for people. They're a not-for-profit type of organization, right? They're not there to make money. The lawyers up here, for the most part, when we work for our own firms, we got to keep the lights on. We're worried about making money. These organizations do not worry about that because they're there for the betterment, the good of the community. And so, Wafa earns her JD from the Northwestern School of Law and her Bachelor of Arts in Public Policy from NYU. So I'm going to ask you to give her a short round of applause, but before, I'm going to introduce, all right, let's do it now. I'm also going to introduce the next speaker so that when he shows up, we can just keep the program moving. And that's a really good friend of mine, somebody I've known for more than 20 years, and his name is Jeffrey Feinblum. He maintains his own legal practice in Manhattan, as well as in Westchester, focused exclusively on immigration and nationality law. Over the course of his career, he successfully represented countless businesses, individuals, and families before the Department of Homeland Security and other government agencies on a broad range of legal issues. He's also an adjunct professor at the School of Professional Studies at CUNY, where he teaches immigration law and naturalization, and is a longtime member of the New York and national chapters of the American Immigration Lawyers Association. Jeff graduated from Northwestern School undergraduate, a Bachelor of Arts degree, and from the Cardozo Law School. I just want to say Jeff and I have been good friends for over 20 years. And he is the person who, whenever I have a friend with an immigration issue, he's the first person. He's on speed dial. He has my utter confidence in everything he does. And that's because I've known him for so long, I've seen his success. I've seen his work, I've seen his results. So I'm very excited that he's coming down for the first night, even though I've been doing this for 16 years, and I've known him the entire time. It's the first time we're doing something focused on immigration, something that's in his bailiwick. So he'll be here in a few minutes, but for right now, we're going to hear from Juana. Thanks so much, welcome.
Hi everyone, thank you for having me here. I'm Wafa, thank you for the introduction. I'm very glad to be with you here today and just wanted to touch briefly on some of the work NYCLU has been doing and that I've been working on specifically. Since January 2025, we've really seen, as Wiley mentioned, this like unprecedented wave of immigration enforcement, seeing masked officers prowling the streets, like people abducted from their communities. And although New York has not seen the same type of massive, like militarized surge in enforcement as we've seen in Minnesota, in LA, in Chicago, it doesn't mean those things have not been happening. So in New York, it's been happening in more discrete ways. And so we actually, I think New York in summer of last year experienced one of the highest increases in immigration arrests, and a lot of this was happening through the courthouse arrests. And so NYCLU filed a challenge last summer, basically opposing this policy of conducting courthouse arrests when people were showing up to their immigration hearings. And similarly, we just a few weeks ago filed a case challenging the ICE's practice of warrantless arrests. And so what this is basically some of these stories that you've probably been hearing that might have impacted you amongst your friends, neighbors, and your communities, is when ICE just shows up in a community and seemingly like picks up someone, arrests them, stops them, without a clear target. So under prior administrations, a lot of this type of community enforcement often happened in a more targeted manner, and so it meant that ICE had some information about someone before they actually would stop them in the community and arrest them. Whereas now what we've been seeing is what they often refer to as collateral arrests. So maybe they go in because they have a target in mind, but then they also end up picking up other people in the community. And essentially a lot of this has boiled down to just racial profiling. They see someone who looks a certain way and they assume that they are undocumented or lack the right type of status. They hear someone speaking certain language and then they will pick them up or will start a conversation with them, and over the course of that conversation we'll get enough information to then arrest them. And so our challenge to this focuses on both the Fourth Amendment argument, but also under the INA, which Jeff will touch on, or can speak to a little bit more than I can. You can't just arrest someone without a warrant. I don't know if am I supposed to be going into all these things now?
Okay, I mean, tell people what if ICE shows up and they say we have this or we have that. What are they looking at?
So the primary way that we've been hearing about these arrests happening in community is three different main mechanisms. The first is a consensual encounter. So ICE comes up to you. Often they're disguised as either just regular law enforcement, or they're just don't have clear logos even visible, and they come and they've asked about whether there's a crime going on in the neighborhood. And so this type of like consensual encounter is the main way that they can just get people who they don't have any information about to start talking to them, to start providing information. So if anyone approaches you with this type of general question about whether you've seen someone, so one of the ruses we've heard of is this photo ruse, where they'll show a photo of someone that usually people don't recognize, and once you start answering questions, the focus of the conversation shifts to being about the person in front of them. And at that point, they'll ask you to turn over your ID, and once you do, they might like run that information through their immigration databases. So the first thing you should do when when these questions come up is either just walk away, ask if you're free to leave. If they say yes, you're free to leave, then you should just leave the space immediately. If it seems like they have more information and you are someone who has valid immigration documents on you, you should produce it. If you don't have any valid immigration documents on you, you should just exercise your right to remain silent. You should say, I don't want to answer any questions right now, I want a lawyer. But really the first question should be whether or not you're free to leave.
Right, and so if they see ICE interacting with somebody else, what are they allowed to do? What would get them into trouble? What would not get them into trouble?
Honestly, just given how unprecedented a lot of this stuff is, it's hard to know like the level of aggression with which ICE will respond with, but you have the right to report ICE if you see them. The things that are most helpful when you encounter someone who might be arrested is to get their basic information. So their A number, their immigration number, maybe the name of their immigration attorney if they have one, their emergency contact. Also, we recommend if anyone's in like a mixed status household or if they're undocumented and you have minor children, you should look into a standby guardianship process and what that looks like, so you can assign a standby guardian for your children in the event that or your other guardian is like picked up by ICE.
Can you explain what you mean by, I think it's understood, but how that would arrive, why that would be necessary?
So the process itself is just as simple as filling out a form, and I can share resources after this, but there are lots of organizations in the city that offer trainings on this, and they will guide you through it, but essentially what it is you are appointing like a loved one, a relative, a neighbor, or someone to like stand in as your child's guardian in the event that you are taken and put in detention. We have had clients who've been abruptly swept up in an immigration raid, and they had kids that needed to be picked up from school. And ICE did not give them the chance to call their schools and make childcare arrangements. So at that point, if they had a standby guardian, their kids could be placed with them instead of being put in some sort of immigration facility. I had another case where this happened to one of our clients where he was put in ORR custody because his mom was deported even though he had valid status.
I think for now, maybe there's more questions later, but for now I want to thank So before I get to Mr. Feinblum, who I introduced earlier as he was coming in, I also want to thank some of the staff here, but also I want to thank Reverend Sharpton for creating the space, for giving us the ability of being here together and for being able to have this night class. And in honor of my brother, of Michael Hardy, we're all here, and it's one of the things that really moves me, as Brother Joel had said. Being here and having this named after Michael is really special to all of us who worked with him, who knew him, and it touches me to be here. So I want to thank all of you, because without you, this doesn't work. So for everybody who's online and for everybody who's here in person, thank you for your time and for coming here tonight. And with that, I wanted to bring Jeff Feinblum up, who I had introduced earlier, and I told you, among all his great accolades, I think among his best is he's one of my closest friends.
Everybody, pleasure to be here. I don't really have any prepared remarks, but I want to talk a little bit about just the immigration system, the reality of the immigration system, what it's like today, and to leave you guys with some, impressions and best practices, if you will. If you are yourself in the immigration system, or you have loved ones that are in the immigration system, we are truly in unprecedented times. There is a lawlessness that is pervading the federal government in almost every aspect of the administration, but the one I think that really impacts individuals and communities the most is what's going on in the realm of immigration. So, there is interior enforcement that is unprecedented. We have a government bureaucracy that is just getting tens and hundreds of billions of dollars. ICE is the largest law enforcement agency in the world. They have more money than the IDF. It is unbelievable what's going on. They're building detention capacity. The immigration courts are being gutted. It is literally a kangaroo court. New York was always, nothing was ever perfect, far from it, but New York was always a place where if you were in removal proceedings, which is another way of saying deportation, chances were you were going to get a fair hearing before a truly neutral arbiter. That is no longer the case. Even in New York, the Attorney General has fired immigration judges throughout the United States for failing to adjudicate cases in the way that this administration wants them adjudicated. They're under a tremendous amount of pressure to just issue removal orders. I was recently part of a working group that developed a template based on bias, systemic bias in the immigration court system. So it's just really important if you know someone who is, who might be subject to removal. I think number one, be proactive, get advice from a trusted attorney. Even if that advice is, I can't help you, like sometimes that's the most valuable advice that I give. I'm not interested in taking clients' money. I want to help people, and it's important that you, of course, we all want to make money, right? But I'm not interested in cases that I don't believe that I can win, and what I'm interested in doing is giving people good advice. And I think I've built a reputation over the years of being an honest broker, so it's very important for you guys to find honest lawyers and get good referrals from trusted sources, and to really try to be proactive and understand what your rights are. And the best thing to do might be to just lay low and hope things change in 3 years. But information and knowledge is power. So acquire that information. The other thing that I would counsel people to do is to just be cautious. It's amazing even today, like how some people go about taking care of some very important issues. They do not give issues the care that they deserve. Particularly in the current environment, it is important to treat the situation with caution, with extra caution and care. In a certain respect, it's a sort of surreal, we'll have to use the phrase unprecedented before, these are truly unprecedented times, both in terms of the enforcement environment and the adjudication environment, which is where most people encounter the Immigration Service. They are applying for a benefit. Maybe they have a child they're sponsoring, or a child is sponsoring a parent, or they get married and they're sponsoring a spouse who want to bring someone over. So, in a certain sense, it's business as usual. Believe it or not, the laws have not changed. What's changed is how the laws are being applied. And it's just very important these days to be, keep repeating myself, but to be proactive and handle situations with great care, because so in a certain sense the system is functioning as it always does, but in another sense there is almost no such thing as a routine case anymore. I have heard numerous reports from colleagues that they are detaining spouses of U.S. citizens when they show up to their immigration interview if they are an overstay. An overstay means you came lawfully with a visa but didn't leave when you were supposed to. Historically, those people are statutorily eligible. They're still statutorily eligible for adjustment of status. They would never, ever, ever be detained historically. Right now, so that's an example of even the most routine type of case is no longer routine. So you just have to exercise caution.
When you say statutorily eligible, can you explain what that means?
What that means is you have a statutory right to pursue an immigration benefit, to apply for an immigration benefit and to legalize your status, whether that's applying for a work visa or a green card. A spouse of a U.S. citizen who has been lawfully admitted into the country, who overstayed their visa, if they're married to a U.S. citizen, in a bona fide relationship with that U.S. citizen spouse, they have a statutory, a legal right to apply for adjustment of status, which means a green card. Doesn't mean you have a legal right to that benefit, but you do have a legal right to apply for that benefit. You have a legal right to that process, and those rights are not being honored, to put it mildly, all the time. A lot of what you hear in the news, I mean, what you hear in the news is only a fraction of what's going on the street and in reality and in the immigration court buildings and on a daily basis on the front lines of immigration practice. I think it would shock the conscience of most Americans to truly understand what's happening. The notion that they're going after the bad guys, the bad hombres, that is complete garbage. And they're not even really hiding it. I mean, they publicly said, like, we want to arrest 3,000 people a day. And they really are trying. I think the number is up close to 1,000 a day, which is, pretty shocking. And they're using those funds and they're building the detention capacity. And one other thing that's happening a lot is the use of the diversion of resources from the from the benefits side of immigration to the enforcement side of immigration. So I'll take a couple steps back. The Department of in case anyone's interested, Department of Homeland Security is really made up, it's a monster agency, and in the immigration realm there are 3 sub-agencies or bureaus that do immigration in the United States. So you have the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, USCIS, which used to be called INS. They do benefits. If you marry a foreign national and you want to sponsor that person for a green card, you file an application with USCIS. Then there is CBP, or Customs and Border Protection. Those are the folks at the airport, on the border. They inspect you and decide whether you can enter or be admitted to the United States. And then there's ICE. ICE is in charge of interior enforcement. Right now, all the resources that are allocated towards CIS, which by the way is immigrant funded, it's customer funded agency through fees that are generated from benefit applications, those are largely being diverted to other agencies, and even within CIS, they're being diverted to fraud investigations. So, for example, I do a good amount of business immigration, and we've had in recent months 2 relatively straightforward visa petitions filed on behalf of companies for workers that you pay a little bribe to the government. It's called the premium processing fee. For an extra couple grand, you get a decision or an evidence request within 15 calendar days. I've been practicing immigration law for 30 years. The premium processing program has been around since 2001. Before this year, I had never had a benefit request not be adjudicated within the time frame. I am now about to file my first lawsuit to compel the immigration agency to act. They literally haven't responded to the petition. So I could go on, but that's just one example of the irregularities in the system. Yes?
Yeah, of all the activities, which one is the most complicated?
In terms of
Immigration
activity. Well, I mean, that's a good question. I would say that immigration law is inherently complex, and each situation, like, you should not assume, based on whatever conceptions you have and ideas that you have, or you think you have, or you know someone who has, that a situation is simple, or conversely, that a situation is complex. Talk to an expert. The most seemingly simple situation could be very, very complicated depending on the facts of the case, and something that to a normal person might appear extremely complex could in fact be relatively straightforward. It really does depend on the individual facts and circumstances of the case.
Because what I'm hearing is, like you already described, that it is in fact complicated, and I'm just at awe that it's 45 days of training and they're unleashed onto the public.
Yeah, so I think what you're referring to is the recruitment and training of ICE officers to, it's hard to arrest and detain 3,000 people a day if you don't have the workforce and detention capacity to do that. So they are hiring, it's scary. I mean, and this is a problem that, Wafa spoke about, just, the violations of people's rights. I mean, this is very much a arrest and detain first, ask questions later, let's let the courts figure out the constitutional issues and the misconduct issues, because cynically they know that only a small fraction of those people who are encountered by ICE could even afford a lawyer or have access to a community that might be able to provide a lawyer at, no or small cost. I mean, they know this.
When you look into 2001 is when 911 occurred, and 2001 is when they got rid of NCIS, that was the keeper of the lights, and made Homeland Security. So Homeland Security is now being the master.
That's a good
Yeah.
question. I think we should
Maybe move that for Q&A.
Yeah.
Jeff's gonna wrap up.
Well, I want to know if you knew about that, because he
Sure,
mentioned
it's a
Homeland
Q&A.
Security.
Sure.
So, yeah, I mean, that's really my presentation. I mean, I could talk about a lot of different aspects of immigration law in detail, but maybe it'd be more productive to take questions.
We're gonna go to the next part of the program, and then we can get to
Sure. All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, you just met two excellent immigration attorneys, Wafa and Jeff. We're going to be going into a second part of the program now where you may have immigration questions, you may have questions on different fields. But what I think I'd like to do now is, before we start that, each of the attorneys on the panel maybe will just come up and introduce themselves, their offices, the types of work that they do. Spend a couple of minutes so you can be acquainted in the different types of fields that we can try to help you with, because you may have some questions on those fields. So I'd like to introduce Kawan Lovelace to say a few things about yourself and the type of work you do.
Good evening, everyone. My name is, thanks for the applause. I was not intending, I didn't know I was going to speak today, but I am happy to be here on the National Action Network. I was a guest of Mrs. Steckel, my colleague. It's great to see everyone here. My name, again, Kawan Lovelace. I have my own practice. I'm a solo practitioner, Lovelace Law, PLLC. My primary focus is civil rights. Just to give you what that typically means, most of my clients are usually victims of false arrest by the police, sometimes excessive force matters. Just to give you my background, I actually used to be in this area pretty heavily. In the early 2000s, I used to be a police officer, a detective for narcotics, anti-crime, and then I went to law school. ultimately, so I've been in the area, the 32nd precinct, 28th, 25th precinct. I know the area very well. I was a prosecutor in the Bronx DA's office, and my focus in doing those things was trying to change the system from within. Realize that you can't do that. Okay, the system is flawed, it's broken. So I do what I do now with my experience of being a former cop, former detective, knowing where the system is cracked and broken, okay, to be able to help communities of color, communities where people normally don't have representation or access to attorneys to be able to help them. Okay, so if you have any questions, I don't have a lot of time here, but I'm definitely will be here afterwards. If anyone has any questions, families, police encounters, what to do, okay, best practices. All right, thank you, it's a pleasure.
Thank you, Kawan. Okay, Maurice, would you like to come up and say a few words? This is a young man that I've known now for a couple of years. He's a newly admitted attorney, but just knowing him and his background and his passion and his commitment for this community and for the city and for the law, he's going to be an excellent attorney. Great career in front of him, I can tell you.
Thank you very much for the introduction. I know a few of you guys know me from the huddle, and some of you know me from What's on Your Mind. This is my first time speaking as a lawyer at as it goes right now, I'm making the transition from what I was doing before to lawyer. So I'm kind of in a general practitioner phase where I don't have a high client list yet or anything like that. So I can kind of do whatever I want right now and dabble in what I'd like to do. Eventually, I'm going to be practicing criminal law. What I want to talk to you today about is wills, right? Everybody thinks that they don't need a will until something happens and you realize that without a will, you are going to be in a situation where you're not sure where your assets are going to go. So I would eventually like to draft free wills for people. Now, it would have nothing to do with NAN or anything like that, but if NAN let me, I would love to draft wills for all of the NAN members. So I created some sample documents here that would be what you would get if you were going through the process of making a will. I would like to distribute them if I have permission from you guys. Can I do that?
I'll receive it, yes.
That is so sweet of you.
Ashley, we good? Okay, I'm gonna give them out to you guys. But yes, if Nan lets me, eventually I would like to draft wills for everyone for free. I would just need some kind of space to be. Maybe one of them would want to give me a spot to go. And if you guys come, I'll draft your will for free.
Thank you very much. See what I meant about commitment? Yes. Okay. So, Rob Bellinson, I've known Rob for many years right now, an excellent attorney. I'd like to introduce himself, and he can tell you a little about his office and what he does.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, Robert Bellinson, I'm a life member of NAN, and I'm smart enough and astute enough to know that you never follow the young lawyer who's giving out free legal services. Thanks a lot. Congratulations, and it's really great to see all the members of the legal profession up here for you. This is being of service to the community. The older I get, the more I appreciate this. And that's what I'm doing here. That's why I'm a life member. I'm a son of New York. I was born and raised in New York. I went to college upstate, law school in Brooklyn. I lived on the east side of Manhattan where I ran for office in the 1990s against a long-standing Republican state senator. Didn't quite get there, but instead of being called senator, I'm called counselor. My practice now is just trying cases. That's all I do. I stand up in court and I represent plaintiffs in civil actions. I've been doing it for a while. I'm a true believer, and it's a pleasure and a privilege to be up here tonight with you. Thank you for being here tonight.
Okay, thank you, Rob. And now you've met him before, Mr. Steckler, Wiley Steckler, but he'll give you a little more detail about what he can do and what his office is all about.
Thank you guys so much. First and perhaps most importantly, end of the first quarter, Knicks are up 40-15. Come on! I'm a long-standing founding member of the Legal Knights. and that's one of the most proud parts of my practice. I am a civil rights lawyer. I represent individuals against the city of New York, usually around police misconduct, usually around either false detention, false arrest, excessive force, issues like that. Over the summer of 2020, there was a lot of protests going on in New York over the George Floyd and what was going on there, and I've done a lot of protest work. I was a lawyer for Occupy Wall Street, for those that remember that, back in 2011. So after summer 2020, a bunch of lawyers got together and we filed 7 or 8 big litigations against the city of New York, and we've now come to settlements where we're changing the way that the city of New York and the police department are policing protests. And so this is a really great thing. It's taken, people talk about overnight sensations, 30 years in the making, and that's my law practice. So I'm really proud to be here. I'm proud to serve the community of Harlem, to serve the National Action Network. And if you guys have any questions about any sort of legal rights involving police misconduct, protests, First Amendment, or wrongful convictions, I'm here to help. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, now I'd like to introduce Mr. Royce Russell. Royce?
Yeah, Royce.
First of all, thank you for having me. When we start to talk about the things that we do and what our practice and area is, you have to understand that although we might mention those things, you have so many years of experience here that there are subject matters that we don't mention that we know about. You got at least, you've been practicing law for 5 years, right? You've been like 102 years, right? You've been like 30 years, right? So, I joke about it, but the list goes on how many years we've been practicing, right? And so we're a product of our experience. I served at the Bronx DA's office, became a criminal defense attorney, worked for the Department of Justice and trained attorneys, trial attorneys on how to deport people, then went into private practice to protect those people, done civil rights work. Steckler and I, we contributed to a book that Michael Hardy wrote called Constitutional Policing. Author wrote my own book, contributed to another book called Second Chance. So we are a product of our experiences here. But one thing we do know, that we're smart enough to know that when we don't practice in the area, our best asset is to know where to send you or where we can send you to get the information, to a person or a place. So don't be discouraged by the fact that we say, hey, look, we don't practice this area of law. We're just being very mindful that we don't put you in a worse situation. As our speaker spoke today, one of the dangers of practicing in immigration is that you put the person in the worst situation that they could be in before they came to your front door. So sometimes it is a sit and wait, because if you try to apply for a benefit, immigration benefit, next thing you know, the person's in removal proceedings, next thing you know, they're getting deported, and it creates a domino effect, right? Now, to the young attorney here that gave out the wills, very happy that he did so. But as an experienced attorney, I have to tell you, that does not mean that he's retained you guys as clients. So you can't call him up. Well, just in case you don't read it. Can't call him up and say, hey, remember me, I'm your client from the other night. No, you're not his client. He just gave you some documents for you to get educated, and he will walk you through, right? So you can become a client. I'm gonna save you. I'm gonna save you. I'm gonna save you. All right? Now, we've been around long enough that we know that after legal night, people are gonna call us and they're gonna say, hey, I'm your client, we met last night. You are not my client. We did meet last night, but you're definitely not my client. We will strive to become that, right? And sometimes, like I said, the information is to move you in a place where you can actually get help. Now, I just want to add on to one thing from the immigration presentation, because this is something that you can take home with you and really tell a friend who tell a friend, right? If you have important immigration documents, you should have copies of them in various places with various people. Because if you get detained today, or you get stopped, and somebody rips it up, or somebody destroys it, and you don't have it in a safe deposit box, or you don't have it with Auntie Ann, or Uncle Eddie, or something like that, you may just go right down in history with no documentation whatsoever. So please make sure if you see a friend, you know a friend, make sure that they make a copy of their documents, all right? So they can have one at home. And I welcome you guys.
Thank you very much, Rose. Okay, so let me introduce or reintroduce myself. My name's Joel Schmelk, and I've been doing this for quite some time. Not 102 years, as Royce wants you to believe, but well, since the mid-'80s, 1984. So that's what 42 years. I like to think of myself as a civil rights attorney because I represent those who have been pushed aside, underrepresented, discriminated against in the following types of areas. Whether it's police liability, excessive force, false arrest, false imprisonment is one field, and another field is general accident negligence cases, automobile accidents, building accidents, accidents on construction sites, discrimination, sidewalk accidents, medical malpractice, defective products. Anytime there's an injury, anytime you've been injured as a result of somebody's bad conduct, we represent those individuals. I'm very proud of this area, of this community. I like to say I cut my teeth and learned this business, so to speak, here in Harlem. I went to City College back in the 70s, not that far from here on Convent Avenue. Thereafter, went to New York Law School downtown. I've always practiced in New York. I'm a New Yorker through and through. And we also have developed in my office contacts and affiliations and network with attorneys in different states all across the country. By being members of various bar associations, we've reached out. So if you have questions on other fields, questions in other states, I'm always happy to answer them for you, to try to guide you to the right types of attorneys that may be able to help you. So now you know a little about us, you know a little about the areas that we have, that we practice in. And if you have questions, now we're going to do things a little differently. Christian Matthews will tell us how we're going to now go into the second phase of asking various questions. But I will say this, something that my mentor, good friend, colleague, Michael Hardy used to tell everyone. And that's, you know, don't reveal too much. Don't speak about certain personal things. You don't have to. You know, if you want to talk about something, don't mention people's names that you don't like this one, don't like that one. It can be always Mr. X or Ms. Y. Also, don't confess to things, that certain things that you may or may not have done. You have the right to remain silent. We all know that, right? And what happens? If you give up the right to remain silent, what can happen? Anything you say can be used against you, right? In a court of law. I learned that many years ago, but I gotta tell you something. I didn't learn that in law school. You know where I learned that from? Being a kid watching all those great police dramas in the 1960s and 1970s. That's where I learned it, but there's some truth in it. And my grandfather used to say that the fish got in trouble and he got hooked because he opened his mouth at the wrong time. So keep that in mind too. So. And we have another attorney, Eric Seifert, who's out in Berkeley, also a commitment to this organization and to helping people. And he's here as well, so you can keep that in mind as well. Okay, Mr. Matthews, Chris Matthews.
Okay, well, thank you, Attorney Spelke. Give all the attorneys one more big great here. So the way we are going to do this, we have to do this a little differently. For those that have been to Legal Night before, you know at 106 we had a lot more space. Here we are a little bit more confined, and so you do not have to come up to the microphone to do your speaking, but we are going to ask that you will stand to project your voice. The way we are also going to do this is because the hour has moved, and we want to be able to maximize our time here, and also respect those that are online that may have not been able to physically come into the building. Just so you know, Legal Night is across this entire nation. We have over 120 chapters, and some of our chapters have a legal night once a month. I know Las Vegas, they have their legal night. Sacramento, some chapters in Florida, Atlanta, Georgia, so many other places that also have legal night. But then there are also people that come on to the national one just to receive information and to speak to our attorneys here. So we want to be respectful and mindful of everybody's time. So the way we're going to do this, Attorney Spelke is going to come back. We're going to have the first 5 people that are in here, then we move to the first 5 people online and come back in that order. Okay? All right. So Attorney Spelke, back to you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so anyone have questions, you can just, we'll just speak. Yes, sir?
So good afternoon, good evening. My name is, first thank you all for being here. My name is Demetrius Napolitano, and I thank you for your words, because I was like, don't share too much, but keep it brief, brilliant, and then be gone. I'm dealing with a false allegation from a foster parent that I worked with in the DOE, and through that false allegation, and mine, essentially on my name, my nonprofit was dissolved. I was teaching yoga and meditation in the schools. And my name was defamed by the New York Post and all of these things. And so I worked in the DOE for 7 years as more or less as a volunteer, and now it's like I've just been excommunicated. And it's kind of humbling to kind of be able to speak on these things, because I know I'm innocent and I know that I did such a great work. But these things unfortunately happen in these cases, and I've been kind of really seeking some legal help and advice. But it's been, we don't, do these things, or we don't work with. So I'm just putting it out there, and no one spoke to any of this. But if you know anyone, I would really appreciate it.
Employment issues.
More, yeah.
Is more or less what you're talking about. Anybody over here? Employment issues? I do know someone. You can give me a call tomorrow. I'll try to put you in touch with someone for an employment issue.
Oh, good
Yes.
afternoon, good evening.
Good evening.
So my name is Wale. That means come home in Swahili. So Attorney Schmucken, is that how you pronounce your name?
Schmelkin, yes.
Schmelkin. I remember about 2 years ago, I had told you that I was falsely arrested. I didn't do any time, I wasn't acquitted or anything like that. And you told me to call you the next day.
Okay.
I wasn't able to call you the next day, I called you the day after that. And when a lawyer tells you to call the next day, obviously they mean it. Because when I called the day after, you was like, well, get back to me and all this kind of thing. So you was never of any help.
I'm
But
sorry.
I guess that's my,
That's okay. That's okay.
I have to, because I was mad at you.
Okay.
But then I told myself, Wale, he did say call him the next day.
Many
I'm
attorneys
only
get
being
it.
fair.
That's okay.
I'm only being fair.
We can speak during
But
the break,
one
and
thing
maybe I
I
can
would
put you
like
the
to
right.
say, one thing I would like
Okay.
to say, I don't know how many of you came here by vehicle, but if you came by the train and stuff, you got a chance to look around you at 125th Street at the community, which is predominantly people of color, which I hate that term, people of color. But anyway, so you got to see the schmuck and the filth and the garbage and the crime and the drug abuse and the debauchery, which is not even a lot of their fault. But, so I'd like to know what's your opinion on what you got to see. Because usually poor people don't have a snowball's chance in hell when it comes to law. So I'd like to know, what is your opinion on some of the things you got to witness before you got here?
Sure.
Okay.
So, I'd say 98% of my clients are poor people. And as Christian Matthews is explaining, I've had some return, some that I've met here, that I spoke to at the House of Justice during a National Action Network, Legal Rights Night, who I then helped navigate a few things, put a case into suit, and settled for them and got them paid. And got them. So is that justice? Maybe, right? Maybe compensation is justice. The cops that did this, did they get into any trouble? A little bit, not a lot. Are they still in the job? They are. But that's how people say the city of New York makes an apology by writing a check. So I'll say I live not far from here. I live on 104th Street. It's not 125th, but it's not far. So I'm up in this area quite often. And so I'm comfortable here, right? I'm comfortable walking the streets here. I'm comfortable talking to people here.
Well, of course you're comfortable because you're white. Okay. See, white people are safe in our neighborhood, but we aren't. So of course you're comfortable.
Okay. That was answering the question that you had asked.
Of course you're comfortable.
So overall, I understand where you're coming from. I don't have the same life experience you have, and I understand that as well. But again, the clients that I work with also don't have the same life experience that I have, but I've dedicated my career to trying to help them. And I think a lot of the people up here have as well. We're going to go to the person in the back, and then I'm going to come to you next. Yes.
So it takes me a minute to get up. Hi, my name is Gwen, and I need to ask a question. I was talking to my neighbor recently, And she's been here for over 40 years, has a family, she works, blah, blah, and so forth. We were talking about immigration, and she was saying that she doesn't have a green card, but she is a legal resident. Is there a difference between the two?
I'm gonna ask Mr. Feinblum to come up and answer that question.
That is a good one.
So yeah, that is a really good question. You know, those are technical terms. Green card is a colloquial term for a permanent resident card. That means you are a permanent resident some people say legal resident. You have the right to live and work freely and travel freely. There are exceptions to that, which if you want I could get into, but to answer your question, if you're talking about a legal resident who does not have a green card, that probably means someone who has some kind of work visa, and they're using the term residence sort of loosely. They're resident because they're domiciled here in the United States or living here. But legal resident, generally in the immigration context, means a green card, but it could mean other things as well. It could mean someone is a refugee, has asylum status. So it's really, depends on that person's individual circumstances.
Okay, then, so, I know, if I'm not mistaken, she said she had a green card, but when she lost her home to a fire, she lost a lot of her papers.
Yeah.
So, do you know what she needs to do to?
Yeah, absolutely. So the green card is a legal document that is proof of your status. If you lose your green card, that doesn't mean you lose your status. You're still a permanent resident in the United States. One of the simplest immigration processes, and very few are simple and straightforward, as I mentioned earlier, is filing what's called an I-90 to replace a lost or stolen green card. You could do that online, you could do it by paper. I like doing those online because it's such a short application and it's pretty straightforward, and when you do it online, you get an immediate filing receipt, so you have proof of filing. Hopefully this individual has a copy somewhere and or has her, what's called her A number, which is an alien registration number. It's called an A number. That is an individual's identification number. That's how the immigration agency can verify this person's status and get them a new card. If the person doesn't have an A number, that's not necessarily the end of the matter, but it makes it much, much more complicated if they don't know their A number.
Okay,
Yeah.
so if she, this is the last question. Right now, for some reason, for the last couple of months, she has been afraid to stray far from her, her house. So if she had none of these papers, there's no way that she'll be able to establish.
If she doesn't have a copy of the green card or even her A number written down somewhere?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough call. Yeah, you may be able to do it by name, date of birth. I mean, there are other ways. I mean, if she is a legal resident, I would try to encourage that person to find a way to file an application, assuming she's not otherwise deportable. If she has, let's say, an offense or something from her background where there's some kind of defect in her status, that's something that you would absolutely need to talk to a lawyer about before filing for a replacement green card. But if she's just an ordinary person that has not been in trouble and didn't commit fraud when she got her green card and hasn't committed any offenses, and she just literally lost her card and unfortunately didn't write down her A number, so she doesn't have that, I would tell her to try to talk to somebody, like a lawyer, to figure out if there's a way that they could file that I-90 application even though she doesn't have her A number or a copy of her green card.
Okay, all right, thank you.
One other suggestion that, one other, that'll take forever.
Yeah, exactly.
One other suggestion that she might be able to do, when she got her green card, she probably had work authorization to be able to work. She might be able to go to an old employer, find out they have any paperwork on file for when she worked.
Right.
And it may include her A number, right? And that's how she made, that might be a way to saving grace that she could retrieve her D number.
Okay.
Right, because before she became a legal permanent resident, she had a period where she had to wait. And if she was working, she had her work authorization, and then she probably had to fill out papers with her employer, so the employer wouldn't get in trouble for hiring someone that was here either illegally or legally. So that might be a linchpin.
Okay.
It's a great
So-
point.
so-
Right.
Building on that, there might be family members
Yeah.
that, like, how did this person get their green card?
Right.
If they were sponsored by a family member, maybe that family member has a copy of an old document that might contain her in it. So there's a lot of,
Well, she
you
came
gotta
over-
be creative.
She came over here with her mom. Her mom did everything for herself. She didn't do what she's supposed to do for her child.
Yeah.
Don't ask me why, I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, I promise that you have the next question.
Years ago, I was in court, family court, well, criminal court, or family court in Manhattan. And when I went to the ACS worker, and he told me to go up to Reverend Al Sharpton's office when he was on 124th Street, Madison. I never got help, but I'm here. And I've never got help in. I don't wanna put out of a business that, how you say it, don't give out too much information, but I just would like to, if you have cards or phone numbers or business cards.
This is a family court matter?
Well, years ago, it was, I finished all my, like, the programs that they told me to go to, and I still end up losing my kids. And it was because of being in an abusive relationship. And the one that did get the children, they ended up giving it to him because with his slick ways, trying to talk, because he worked for the shelters. And the only shelter that he didn't try to find me in, when he did try to find me, it was people that were working, his co-workers calling different shelters to look for me. And then when I went to the domestic violence shelter, they couldn't get in touch with me at all because it was under that law, you know, but I passed that hump, you know, years ago, and
Okay, that's good.
I'm doing, but I need to talk to somebody who probably knows the matter.
And what's the topic for that legal matter?
I don't wanna put it out
Okay.
to someone.
All right, so I'm sure so you can speak to somebody that we
But
try.
I'm
try to
here,
work it out.
even though I didn't get the help I needed, when the ACS worker told me to come to Rev,
No, I
when
understand.
Rev was on Madison and
Okay.
124th Street, between 124 and 125th.
Okay, we'll have the time after the Q and A for you to speak
Yeah.
with the lawyers one-on-one. Yes?
Me?
Yes.
Oh, boy. So, all this, if,
We're gonna go to the, after this, we're gonna go to the Zoom for questions.
thank you for all your being,
John,
thank you for your being here. My question is way different than everybody else that mentioned it. I live in Suffolk County, and I have a, foreclosure, problem, but I got a question for it. So should I ask the question or should I wait?
Give us the general contours of the question.
Okay, it's a foreclosure of my house, a home, but what happened was, it went to, appellate division, so it was, appellate division. I got a, order and decision from the appellate division, and I won. So at that time, the bank had, two choices, either, reinstate my mortgage or write it off. They chose to write it off. So when they wrote it off, they sent me a 1099 cancellation of debt.
Okay.
Okay, of the,
Right.
probably was about the note.
Right.
It's about like $300,000, but the note.
Okay.
Then, on the same breath, maybe about 2 days later, they transferred it to another service company to start the foreclosure all over again.
Okay. So it sounds like they didn't write it off. It sounds
They
like
wrote off a portion of it.
And then they transferred it to somebody else.
Somebody else.
And so what's the
And now I'm
status of it?
still going around in circles with them.
Okay.
So now, so
Is there anybody here that has that?
You know, I can recommend you to someone, and after we finish these questions, we'll have about 10 or 15 minutes so that you can speak to any of the attorneys on one-on-one confidentially and privately, because some people may not want to get up and then ask those types of questions. Okay? Do we have any, just a second.
Joe, I'm sorry, can we get,
Zoom.
can we wait for them to come up and she just wants to make one sort of.
Absolutely, please.
Hi, Dan. I just wanted to say that if anyone sees any ICE arrests happen in their community, I will share my information. So if you could just report that to me or anyone else at NICLU, since we have an ongoing challenge, it would be really helpful.
So just share it now.
I'll share my, yes. My name is Wafa, W-A-F-A. My last name is Junaid, J-U-N-A-I-D. And so my email is WJUNAID@nyclu.org.
NICLU is N-Y-C-L-U.
Yes, sorry, nyclu.org.
So this is very important, right? So if anybody sees ICE doing anything, you want to know how can you help? This is how you can help. You can report it to WAFA and she can then do something about it. They're tracking this, right? They're making sure people online can hear it. NICLU's tracking all of this. So they can report it. They have active litigations in front of federal judges. And the federal judges are overseeing these things. And already the lawyers for ICE, lawyers for Homeland Services, and the government have looked bad, right? They had to come back recently and admit to the judge that the representations they were making about where their authority came to make these arrests was wrong. And therefore they are losing credibility. So it's really important to make sure that we can help our community. One way by helping them is if you see something, share it with WAFA so that she can bring it to the federal judge's attention. Okay? I'm sorry. I just want to make sure, does anybody else have any questions right now? Are there any online questions yet?
Yes.
Yes. So, I'm sorry. We'll go to you and then we'll go to some online questions.
My name is Otis Johnson.
Good afternoon. Good evening, Mr. Johnson.
And I want to talk about a criminal case. I got a criminal case. Got a documentary called Otis Johnson, My Life After 44 Years in Prison for a crime I didn't do. So I'm dealing with action of innocence program, and I work with yourself sometimes. But what I need is a lawyer. I have no family. I lost all my family. In the case I'm trying to open this, my case.
Okay. I'll be happy to speak to you during the break.
You know, you are my neighbor. I live on 104th Street.
Perfect. We know each other well then. Yes. All right. I think we have some online questions that we're going to go to.
One question.
Yes, go ahead.
What's it? You and I do? Oh, yes, sorry. The online question is not a person, it's an online question. Sorry. Okay, the first online question is, this person's comment was, I need an attorney for New York, New Jersey employment and property cases. So if anybody who up here deals with that, because I can put your information in the chat. Is there anybody?
I can get him somebody.
Okay, so when I'll connect with you, Attorney Smelkin. And then the second question is, I'd like a number, please, again, on an employment matter. Okay, so this was the same person. So I will just send that to you right now. And then we have one person on Zoom by the name of, is that Sean X? Sean X, when you're ready. Go ahead, sir.
So we're waiting for Sean X to give us his question.
Yeah, there he goes. Can you hear him?
Hello.
Yes.
Good evening.
We can hear you.
Oh, I was going to ask him, is there a lawyer that I could get in North Carolina about my aunt? She's in in the hospital, but her grandson had her card for like the 5 months and there's no money on it, and now her sister got ownership, guardianship of her. What can she do to get that money back?
Oh, okay, what part of North Carolina?
Fayetteville.
How far is that from Charlotte?
Probably 2 hours.
All right, that's not far. Look, call me in my office tomorrow. And what is your name? Sean is your first name?
Sean Parrish.
Sean, I know you from years. Come on, we're old friends already, right? Okay, call me in the office. I'll get you a colleague of mine in Charlotte, okay? Is that okay?
5-7%.
Hello? Can you hear me?
I hear you.
Okay. You still have my telephone number? You still have my card?
All right, I'll call you tomorrow.
Call me in the office tomorrow. I'm going to get you a friend of mine from Charlotte. I don't know if he does that, but at least will put you in the right direction. One of his partners or colleagues may be able to help you with that. Okay?
We have one more.
All right, we have one more. Just a second.
Ms. Smalls.
Miss Smalls.
Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening. I have a question. My sister is there in the audience, and my nephew was murdered on April 2nd, 2026, less than a month ago. And I wanted to know what attorney would be able to help us. The older gentleman that murdered him is 76 years old, and they went to court yesterday and said that they were looking to put him on an ankle monitor, if not offer him bail because of his age and his medical ailment.
Okay.
My heart goes out
Have
to
you
his
spoken to people here in the office at the National Action Network?
Her sister did.
Your sister did, okay.
The mother of the child.
Okay, I believe they're already taking care of that? They're speaking?
Yes. Oh, okay, good. Yes. Good.
Oh, okay. All right. Maybe she'll speak to one of us after, we're gonna take a little break where she can speak in confidence, in private. Okay? Maybe that's the best bet.
Maybe.
Okay. How are you? Go ahead.
Hi, I have a question, but it's not really about me.
Okay.
But it is about New York has no judicial city court payrolls. And the little bit is that I was a certified civil court in New Rochelle from 73 to 76. And in 69, when I was a child, somebody got a passport stealing my identity, impersonating me to the Vatican. They robbed my police test when I was a civil court clerk and a young man, Carmine Lania, 16.
We don't have to talk about people's names,
Okay,
that's
but
okay.
he's dead, he's
All right,
dead.
we'll
Wrongful
stop it,
death.
that's
When
okay.
there's wrongful death, there's no statute of limitations.
But
But
you
there's no
should-
city court payroll.
don't have
That's
to
my
speak.
question.
Okay.
What can we do?
About city court payrolls?
There's no-
Okay.
So it's New York
Okay.
State. It's
I
Boston.
understand. What you do is, what part of the city do you live in?
No, it's every city. 1,400 cities lost the
Okay, all right.
judicial
Here's what I
payroll.
want you to do. I'm gonna give you some advice. You have some personal questions over here. You have some comments. You have some concerns in general, right? Okay.
No, it's not personal. It's about
I understand. It has to do with everybody.
and law.
All right, all right. For the good of the community, have you spoken to your congressman? I want you to speak to your congressman. That's what they're there for.
None of them helped me.
Well, you're gonna speak to a congressman, you're gonna speak to a state senator, and they're gonna put you in the right direction. That's the best thing to do. Okay, that's my opinion. Yes?
Attorney Schmidt, is that how you pronounce it?
Schmelkin. Schmelkin.
Schmelkin.
You can call me Joel. Whatever you like. You call me.
I'm just very concerned right now because the lawlessness that's going on in this country
Okay.
is off the hook.
I agree. I think we all agree with
You
that.
know, in my neighborhood, I don't have to worry about ICE knocking on my door because all the cops are criminals and they're in with the district leaders and the politicians. So we really don't have a snowball's chance in hell in our community. So the question becomes, you have the DAs and all these kind of people, but the crime just gets worse and worse and worse and worse. And when I was coming up, lawyers, you respected a lawyer, you respected people who were supposedly law-abiding and all those kind of things here. But now, it's like when I made that comment to him about him being white, it's because white people are safer in our neighborhoods than we are. So the question becomes, when you don't have anybody, when you don't have the cops that you can look up to, your DAs, your city council people, what the hell are we supposed to do?
Okay. I think Watley touched on something before, and he mentioned a very good point. On a one-on-one basis, when you have a certain situation, you go to court, you bring it to court, You make a lawsuit, you recover certain things, and that's when people, when it catches them in the
Yeah, but that's a
pocketbook.
general comment.
Well,
You're not
that's-
interrupting him.
That's a general answer to a general comment. That's what I believe. I believe in going through the court system.
Is statutory of limitations.
All right. I believe, my opinion is that when you see that there's a problem, you bring it to an attorney, you go through our court system, and that's it. When it costs something in their pocket, people change.
Can I ask you one question?
Go ahead.
About the statutory limitation. Can some be waived? Is it at any
Generally
point?
speaking, no. What happens is, and for those here, she's referring to the statute of limitations. What the statute of limitations means is a certain period of time that you have in which to bring a lawsuit in court. Not necessarily that it has to be resolved by then, but what you have to do, what your deadline is, just to flick the switch on. Now, generally speaking, I will tell you this. If you have a situation, say that you have a car accident in the state of New York, you have 3 years in which to file a certain document. Thereafter, you have a lot of other deadlines that come about, other procedures. If you have a claim against the city of New York, it's a little more tricky. You have, generally speaking, say you fall on a sidewalk where they created a problem and say that they were responsible. Many times they have defenses on sidewalk cases, but assuming that they're responsible, assuming you fall by a tree well or something like that, assuming you fall on an area in the roadway where they created a defect, you've got 1 year and 90 days from that date to bring on a lawsuit, but before that, you've only got 90. Very, very short period of time. 90 days to file what we call a notice of claim.
Do you have to be injured? You have to be injured?
You have to be injured, yes. You have to be able to show damage. You have to be able to show that something happened to you as a result of their conduct. As a result, you've got 90 days to put in a claim. Thereafter, they have the right to question you on a hearing. We call it a 50H hearing. Thereafter, you have a year and 90 days from the first date in which to bring on a lawsuit. There are a lot of other deadlines. So I tell this to people because of the fact that, and especially on police cases, people say, well, you know what, they arrested me and I'm going to court and keep on going to court and it gets dismissed 6 months later. Well, you blew your first 90 days in the state court. You have some federal courts. You can bring it in federal court. A lot of attorneys want to bring cases in the state court. A lot of attorneys want to bring in federal court. But you have 90 days in which to actually file a certain claim. For example, I'm talking about false arrest or false imprisonment, malicious, false arrest, false imprisonment, assault. And the trigger points when your deadlines happen are different depending upon the facts of your case. So, but the takeaway is, if you're injured, if you feel that somebody did you wrong, if you feel someone violated your rights, go to an attorney. Go to an attorney right away. Let the attorney worry about when the clock starts to tick and not you try to figure something out, because then you have a statute of limitations deadline problem. Yes, sir.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Just to kind of piggyback off of what Sister Wale said. Now, I come to the legal nights quite often, and a lot of the issues that some of us bring up to some of the attorneys make a lot of sense and carry a lot of value. But some of the concerns and complaints that are brought about during legal night really should be directed to our local elected officials and not to the attorneys, because yeah, they're here and they have a listening ear, but they are not the ones in the position to change some of the quality of life issues that we talk about here. So I'm just bringing that up in defense of the attorneys, because they have a rough job, and they get up here once every month and they listen to the community and they try to provide services and advice to the community. And I'm just saying, cut them guys a little bit of slack. Perhaps maybe we need to organize a town hall meeting with our elected officials or do a National Action Network public hearing to address these community quality of life issues.
And can I just say one thing?
Sure.
Senator Claire, you can call her office anytime. She has an open door, and she has one night a month that she has constituents come to her office, and you can talk to her about anything. So,
That's very good advice.
And many
That's
of them
very,
do.
very good.
You know, so
Okay.
reach out to local elected.
Sure. What I think we're going to do is, and I'll talk to you quickly, then we're going to break right now, and you can speak with the attorneys one-on-one right now for the next 10, 15 minutes, because we have certain deadlines over here we have to.
One second, before we close out.
Yes.
Thank you. Let's give all of the attorneys one more big great hand. thank them for their time, for taking this time 1 second to come out. So what we are going to do, we're going to remain in this room and that vestibule out there. Please do not crowd the attorneys. We know what each of them do, and respectfully, if there were a question, those that may be online or those that are here in the building, if you are still having a pressing matter that you need to speak with some folks, there are some folks from our crisis team that are here that can speak with you, or if you do not feel like speaking tonight, you can always call us at 877-626-4651. We are here every day, Monday through Friday. The Crisis Center is open from 9 to 5 every day, some days 6 o'clock. And as today, we're here a little later and they're still answering the phones. So we want to make sure that we do that on that. If you don't have any other pressing matters, well.
As we're closing out, we're going to speak to people one-on-one after this, so the Q&A session unfortunately is closed. But I just want to thank both Jeffrey Feinblum and Wafa Junaid, because these are not people who come all the time. They're not part of the legal night, but they're here special for us. So they took time out of their day, time away from their families to come here tonight. So thank you guys so much.
One quick comment I'd like to remember to everybody. We have legal night the last Thursday of every month, with the exception of August, November, and December. For those of you that are here, if you learned something, if you thought it was interesting, please come back again. The next time we have it is going to be the last Thursday in May, May 28th, and I think it's a real treat because we're going to have a few judges over here to speak about a view from the bench, and that's always a very, very popular topic. And please try to come, bring a friend, and we thank you very much, because really, Legal Night was started 16 years ago, but without your help, without your assistance, we can't do anything, and we're really grateful to you. Thank you very much. We're going to stick around to ask questions.